I heard a man tell me, an older man say, "Boy, this old age is for the birds. I really don't like it. Because I find myself even at night when I try to read I find myself remembering all the foolish things that I've done wrong." And I said to him, the Lord really nailed it. Don't you know that your memory is made for a reason? And that God is bringing things back to your remembrance so that you could make them right with Him? So when you think that you've made a foolish mistake, ask Him to forgive you for it, because it's been a long time. If you're 85 or 95, that's been a long time since you went to God. And if it's coming back to you now, there's a reason for it. I know of a man who was, I think he was pushing 80. And he had no idea he was going to pass away in a month or two. None whatsoever. He got a little bit sick. I will say this was a man that at one time physically tried to kill me. I mean, physically. It was only a miracle I wasn't dead. But this man was like my own flesh and blood brother. I loved this man as my brother. When he got saved, I'm telling you, it was a miracle. If it wasn't for him having the kind of reborn Christian wife that he had, he'd have never seen the truth and he would have never gotten saved. Because he had a form of godliness that denied the power thereof, and he had no understanding for anything. And I can remember him reading my book, and he came to me and he said, "Marion, I don't understand this." He says, "Is there something wrong with me?" And I said, "Yes, for everyone that knows God understands that book." And he looked at me and he realized something. There was a difference between him and what he believed and what that book was talking about. Eventually, he got to a place where he started calling me his angel, because he could call me and talk to me about anything, explain anything to me, and I would pray for him. And to him, I became the only person in his life that understood him, that could help him, and Christ could love him through. I mean, of course, his wife and I were like this, very close. And she was thrilled with the fact that he felt that way. I can remember having a problem with someone that was very cruel to me. And I remember being somewhere where I ran to the both of them and I just bawled like a baby. He put his arms around me and his wife, and he held me and he said, "Marion, they just don't understand. They don't know what they're doing." And I was comforted because I knew that to be true. Well, anyway, this man, he had what he thought was a lot of problems. He had children that sometimes they would have interaction that maybe he felt they shouldn't. So what he did, and everybody knew it, what he did is he went and he called them. And he would talk to them sometimes for hours. And he didn't know what he was doing, but what he was doing was he was everything that was coming to his memory, he was working it out and making it right with them so that he could have peace with them. Wisdom. That was wisdom of God. So naturally he had peace from the word go. He was forgiven. He had peace with me for years. But with these people, his own children, some of them, they held misconceptions, misunderstandings. Oh, they loved him and he loved them. And so when it came to my place, and he knew my husband, and he talked to my husband, and he talked to my husband, and my husband would say, I don't understand it. He never talks to me like that. He never he never did that before. Why is he doing this now? And he spent hours with me, talking to me about everything. He was being prepared to meet his maker. He didn't know it. He had no idea. There was the wisdom and power of God in his life, where he was striving towards him to do what he needed to do. And he passed away quickly. I mean, quickly. He could have died a terrible death with a very long illness. But he didn't. It happened quickly. From the time that it looked like he was in bad danger to the time that he died was quick. And of course, I knew God was going to take him. And so did his wife. The last time she saw him as she walked away, the Lord had let her know exactly what the Lord told me. If I can't raise him here, I'll raise him up there. If there's not enough faith for him to be healed here, I will heal him up there. So both of us got that witness of the truth of what God told her, and it gave her peace and it gave me peace. But what I'm saying to you is this: if you're older and your past life starts coming to you, oh, you might not pass away in a year, 2 years. You might not pass away in months, 10 years. But allow God to talk to you just in case. I've seen God take people where one day you're talking to them and the next day they're gone like that. The next day they're gone. I can remember being shocked, absolutely shocked at how fast God had taken people from the time that the Lord had sent them to me to witness, to talk to. I was shocked. It was only a matter of hours in some cases and only a matter of days in others. But the urgency of the Spirit of God in me was so urgent that I couldn't let them leave my sight without me talking to them about God. And the next day, gone. A few hours, gone. I mean, just as fast as me talking to them at the bottom of my heel, they went up to the top of their heel, went around their house, and fell over dead with a massive heart attack. That's how quickly God took them after that conversation. That was the one where I said, he says, oh, Marion, I'm going to be just like you one day. I'm going to be telling everybody about Jesus. Now, he hadn't given his life to God yet. And I said, well, you better not wait. He says, oh, but if he figured I was talking about him dying. And he said, oh, but if I go, he says, I will open up my eyes to my first day. And he was going to say in heaven. And I said to him, if you don't belong to Jesus Christ, you will open up your first day in hell. And he looked at me and it hit him. It was true. He proceeded up that hill, but I know God would have never taken him if he wasn't ready. For the few seconds from there and minutes till there is a long space with God where they are able to give their lives to God. I told you God stretches time to speak to people. Just like God stretched time for this man who is like my brother to make all things right with his family. God stretches that time. So if God's talking to you and you can't seem to sleep because you remember this and you remember that, you know, they, and I'll never forget who it was. And I don't want to, I don't want to bring up his name, but he was a comedian. And they would say, well, my life's flashed before my eyes. Well, when your life starts flashing before your eyes, then you better take that trip with God. You better take that journey and start to work it out. Because you see, he's telling you something. He's warning you about something. And like I said, he's calling you to make it right. Now, he might call you 10 years before your time to go, but he's calling you. So you don't have to be afraid if he calls you. You don't have to be afraid that he's going to take you tomorrow, because that's just not true either. When he would talk to me, look at how many years I lived after he talked to me and told me of my past, and it come to my memory and come to my memory till I worked it out between him and God. Well, he's doing the same thing with all of you, whether you know it or not. I mean, it was about 45 years when he started talking to me like that. And I'm going to be 80 this month. And none of us have any guarantee on any life. But I know God has already let me know my destiny. I've seen people go to the altar and say, I'm going to wear this dress. I want this for my funeral. I want that. And then go. They were gone. God does with his own tell them. He tells them how he's going to take them. There's no fear involved in it. When God comes for you, there's no fear whatsoever. You're talking to a lady whose spirit left her body 3 times. And all it was taking one step into eternity. Just like that. And he just gently pulled my spirit back and let me know it wasn't time. Just let me know. Just like he let me know when, how, and where he's going to take me. I already know it. But you know what? If you're close to him, he will say, come on. And you'll gladly go. Because this life is horrible. This life is not where you want to be. This life is working. For me, it's work. And I love it. Like Paul the Apostle said, in this life, we have hope. In this life, in this life, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. In this life, we live Christ. Is he in your heart in his fullness? Does he fill up your mind? Or do you have other things that distract you, that cause you to think that it's okay? This is going to be okay. That's going to be, and you don't find the fullness of love for him. However it goes, I've prayed for you and I will always pray for you. Remember, it's no joke. When you feel your life passing before you, you better start talking to God. You better start allowing him, because when it comes to you and says, I think of all the foolish mistakes that I made and the foolish things that I did, that meant God was showing you what you did was wrong. What you did was foolish. Repent. Don't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow could be too late. Make it right now.